You're probably doing this one thing that is sending potential customers away. The good news is, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is and how to fix it today. This is not to scare you, it is to help you make more money. And on this channel, I am doing everything I can to help you make more money, build wealth, have freedom and options. It's kind of my thing. It's kind of my mission in life to do that. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for clicking and let me know in the comments why you clicked through. What made you click through? Was it the thumbnail? Was it the title? Was it a little bit of both? That's something we talk about here on Your First Million, the channel as well, because we learn how to use YouTube to our advantage. Now, in this video, what I'm going to tell you about is a little bit about my journey and what I figured out at age, well, I would say I figured this part out at age 40 more so than 35 when I figured the first big thing out. And since I figured this out at around 40, I've generated at least $1 million a year per year, and I've helped others generate millions of dollars per year. So, what I want to talk to you about today is a mindset shift. And I know when you say mindset shift, people kind of glaze over. So don't check out. This is actually going to help you. It's tactical, it's practical, and it can be lucrative. Like it can change everything for you because it did for me. I mentioned that at 35, I had this big epiphany, and I did. I had been homeless for much of my adult life. And when I say homeless, let me talk to you about what that means. What that means is after, well, first, we moved when I was a child and teenager, we moved a lot because we ended up not being able to pay rent sometimes. And I worked since I was 15. I mean, in my opinion, I had a really good childhood. It wasn't great, but I had a good childhood. I had a lot of love for my mother and my brother. And to me, that's like what a lot of people at my school didn't have. I knew some people were going through something, and I knew that they had more money than I did, but they didn't have as much love and support that I felt like I had. So you never know. It doesn't matter what anybody's background is. You never know what's going on at their home. But we did have a lot of housing insecurity growing up. And so that's what I knew. I knew what it was like to watch my mom go to a pawn shop and try to make ends meet, and like constantly, like every week we were either at a pawn shop to put something into pawn or to pay off, to pay down something on pawn. And I didn't know at the time that that was not normal. It generally, like obviously a lot of people watching this probably have been through that, but it is not normal in the grand scheme of things. And there are other things like that. And then when I was an adult, it didn't get much better. It actually got worse because then I was sort of figuring life out at the same time. And I found myself very often, at first in my early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, it was a little bit of like, figuring yourself out and crashing on people's couches and couch surfing. Literally, a website called Couch Surfing was one of my best friends because you would meet new people and you would crouch. You would, that's what was happening on some of those couches, I'm sure. Anyway, you would couch surf, and then towards 27 up, 27 to 34, that's when it was no longer cute by anybody's stretch of the imagination. And every once in a while, I'd have an apartment of my own. I remember I stayed in this apartment in Columbus, Ohio, with one of my best friends, Sarah. But I wasn't with her. I wasn't her roommate. She had grown up there, so she had a home. And I had visited so many times. I was like, oh, I'm going to live in Columbus because that's the place. And I had had some pretty rough times in LA, and she insisted that I come out and so she could keep an eye on me, mental health wise. And I got this apartment. I was really happy because I got this apartment. It was really hard for me to get apartments on my own with I had poor credit. So I got this apartment. I think it cost like $435 a month or something. And this wasn't, I mean, it was a few years ago, but it wasn't so far back that that was like normal. It was really inexpensive. And there was a gentleman who lived above my floor who would urinate out of the window on a regular basis. Sorry for the mental image, but he would. And there were bugs, and there were, things didn't work, and it was a cracker box. It was so small, and but it had, electricity, and sometimes it had plumbing, right? And it was shelter, and there was a bed there. And I remember getting a bed from the furniture rental place and being so happy that I had a bed and I had a TV. And you know, I was always getting big TVs when I rented them because it was like this one thing that made me happy. And I had a little desk and I had a laptop, thankfully. And I remember applying for a lot of jobs and doing all sorts of things. Like I applied for Airbnb early on to be customer service, and I had like three interviews, and I didn't get the job. They didn't hire me, and I was like, I'm so good in those interviews. I wonder what that was about. And they told me I was overqualified. What? So when you're overqualified, doesn't that mean you are qualified? And then you're more than qualified. So I never quite understood that. And few years later, an executive from Airbnb who had a long tenure, who was very well respected, would go on to invest in my venture fund and then eventually work at my venture fund, being paid by me. And I thought that was really, really interesting. So, like, to think about the juxtaposition, if you will, of what it used to be, what my life was before. And there's so much in between. I've written three books. Two of them address what this was, especially It's About Damn Time really tells you step by step the story. You can get that on audio. You can pick it up at a store, I'm sure, still Amazon. But I would get that audiobook and just listen to it. It's just like 5 hours or something, 6 hours. Put it on 1.5 speed and just listen. And I think it'll really, really motivate you if you haven't listened to it yet. But it's quite remarkable, in my opinion, and others, how I went from Mr. PP to rain, like literally raining on my parade, or not figuratively raining on my parade, to being in rooms with millionaires and even billionaires and working with them and having these hundreds of conversations with very wealthy people. So getting to know how they operate, how they work. And then there's a lot in between all of this. And again, this video isn't about all the in between, so I'll skip ahead a little bit. When I hit 40, which would have been end of 2020, so maybe 39 is when this happened, because it was prior to us being locked in. I I realized something. I realized something that completely changed how I operate as an entrepreneur. Prior to that, for those 4 or 5 years prior to that time that I mentioned, just that, 2020 cusp of 2019, I had raised millions of dollars, millions of dollars. And from, being homeless and not just couch surfing, but being homeless, to accepting $100,000, $500,000, $1 million and more at a time, and being the custodian of these different bank accounts. But I had not had that type of, personal entrepreneur success. You could argue that building a venture fund from nothing is being an entrepreneur. I certainly do argue that. But what I mean is like the type of work that you and I do today, where we're working with customers, we're working with, maybe it's B2B, maybe it's, other businesses, maybe it's even corporate, but it could be to one-on-one consumers. That exchange, that I really enjoy talking to you. I have many customers of my own in my memberships, etc. What I realized and the thing that I'm going to teach you today changed everything. I would really ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. I want to continue our conversation. I want to provide for you as much information as I possibly can. This is my way of being able to do it for free and giving you all of the sauce for free every single week, almost, daily. And the way you do that is you subscribe. So you tell YouTube, I want to see more of this. And when you subscribe and when you comment, like I would hope for you to do right now, it tells YouTube's algorithm that this is a video that people like you need to see. So if you want more people to understand, go ahead and do that. And let me know in the comments if you hadn't subscribed before, but you're subscribing now, because that also helps me with all this data helps me when I'm thinking about what to put into my videos and what's the most value and what do I put in my offers and what do I make available to people. So what I learned this by observing other people. I'll go back, was it a year and a half ago? And I've learned this prior to that, but I'll go back to this one little story, this quick story. So I was in Las Vegas a year and a half ago, and I was speaking at CES, this big tech conference. And I'd spoken there a few years prior, and I really liked it. So I went back, and it has its issues and everything. So, but because it's a huge, huge event. But I had found my people, and something happened with my laptop. I can't remember exactly what it was, but something happened with my laptop. I was on the road. I had my mom with me. I had my brother, my sister-in-law. We were documenting it, all sorts of things. And we went to this, we went to the Apple store, and we didn't do it. For some reason, we didn't do an Uber. I guess because of the way our hotel was set up, the Ubers, it was harder to get to an Uber than to get to a cab. So we got a taxi. And we get in the taxi. If you've ever been to Vegas, you kind of know how like the Vegas Strip works. We were on the Vegas Strip. It took us a little bit out of off the strip to go to this Apple store. Side note, this is also when I saw Dean Cain for the second or third time. That's a whole nother story. Whole nother story. I've done an interview with Dean Cain. He and I have a love-hate relationship, mostly hate now. But yeah, that was weird. Anyway, but also okay. I don't know. It's strange how we interact. If you want to know that story, just tell me in the comments and I'll tell that story on its own. So point of it is there's four of us, we're in a cab, we get to the Apple store. Because I need to speak that same day, I don't, saving 15 minutes or 10 minutes booking another car or a cab or whatever it might be end up being that we need to get, even an Uber that would be fast or a Lyft. Saving 10 or 12 minutes is very well worth throwing in 20, 30, even $50 to me at this point because I'm making a money move in Vegas at this big event. So I say to the cab driver, can you wait? Or how much? No, I say, how much would you charge me to wait for me to jump in the store and then come back out? And he says, ready for it. He says, you couldn't afford it. It's too much. He doesn't know me. He has no idea who I am, where I come from, what amount of money I have in my bank account whatsoever. And I don't necessarily, I'm telling you, as much as I kind of observe people and criticize people about this, I don't even think it was racial. I think it was because I can't remember is whatever. It's not really important. But I don't even think it was racial. I think it was, it's a lot of money to ask somebody to pay. And I'm not going to ask you to do that. So I said, okay, try me. How much? And he said, $30 to wait. Just the waiting part would be $30. And I said, are you allergic to money? Because why would he cut himself off like that? Why would he assume that I can't pay or that someone couldn't pay that? In Vegas, of all places, second of all. And why would he do that? Because I that number is extremely within the number I was willing to pay. If he had said 100, I probably would have said, no, doesn't make sense. I'm not going to do it. But up to 50, I would have said, yeah, this is convenient for me. I have three people with me. We are racing to get back to my speed. Yeah, I'll do that. Didn't pay for a driver that weekend or that week. That would have cost hundreds of dollars a day. So yeah, $50. So I got out of the cab and I said, okay. I mean, it was a little bit of an argument of like, I'm this person. So we get into it. I get into these philosophical things, even when at my own detriment of time. So I did. I was like, are you allergic to money? Like, why would you say I can't afford that? And he's like, yeah, and he's trying to get out of there and whatever. So we get out of the car. We tell him, have a wonderful day and we'll figure something out. And, we made it work. But when I say, are you allergic to money? What I'm saying is, why are you playing defense? And I'm talking to you now. You. 50% of the people who watch my videos on YouTube watch me on mobile. And some of them are watching and some of them are just listening. So if you're just listening to me, this is where you're going to get your magic. So perk up here, perk up your ears. Why are you playing defense and not offense? At one point in my life, I thought that $100 was an incredible amount of money to charge somebody for anything. So I know where he's coming from, right? From that perspective. But now I get paid $25,000, $50,000 to speak for 45 minutes. You know, I remember when I did my speaking fee for the first time. I said it's $5,000. Like there's like $5,000. That's crazy. I knew other people had been paid 5,000, but $5,000 for me to speak, that's crazy. Especially because I used to have stage fright and I was just coming out of that. The first person who paid me 5,000. Ania Williams. I'll say her name in this space. Ania Williams paid me $5,000 to speak because she said I needed to be paid to speak. That's where I was. And I didn't know it about myself. Then I charged that amount to the next two people and they did not pay it. They said they would not, they didn't have the budget for it. They would not pay that. So I thought maybe I'll never get paid this again. The third person asked, or the company asked, and I said, for me to speak. And I said, sure, it's $5,000, da 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 da. They said, oh, actually we had 10,000 earmarked for you, plus travel, plus one companion. And from that day on, my rate became 10,000. And then it went up every time something happened. When my book came out, it went up by 5,000 or 10,000. When I was on the cover of Fats Company, it went up. It went up. So I understand that, but you don't know what's in somebody's bank account. Have you ever, talk to me in the comments a little bit. Let's make this interactive. Have you ever said, who would pay me X amount of money? Who would pay me $100 to do that? Who would pay me $1,000 for that? Or I can't charge that. Have you ever priced something that you knew was worth maybe $500, $300 because of the outcome, the results that it gave, or the time that it took from you, or the value you put into it, the days and weeks of research and effort, but you charge $15, $20, $30, $0 because you were worried about what the other person could afford? I think for some of us, this comes from lack in our past. It comes from scarcity in our past that has boiled over to a scarcity mindset because we feel like we don't have a solid core understanding of our value. because we've never been in a position to have it reflected back to us that we're worth that. Does that make sense? Like if you've gone from a childhood where you've worried about money and you were worrying about money when your parents should have been worrying about the money, but you were also part of it because it was like seeping through to you, either very directly, you were like part of the conversation, or you just heard about it and you were concerned. Like for me, I saw my mom cry a lot when it came to money, and it was just very like it was left an impression. And then I was brought into conversations and into, going to the pawn shop, going to the bank, and watching people berate her, right? And we have this probably unresolved trauma. There's probably been something that has been placed on us when it comes to our background, our makeup. And it may not, it doesn't really have a race or a gender or orientation attached to it. Like class discrimination is a thing that a lot of us can relate to. Not being, I remember going to the grocery store as a child and not being able to afford getting at the checkout. And then that happened to me as an adult over and over and over again. So we may have fear around money that we disguise as humility. If you hear anything in this video that is resonating with you, that is a light bulb moment for you, either write the word light bulb or gem, Gem. I think it's right behind me here. Write gem or light bulb. So it helps me know what is resonating with you. And I read every single comment. So if you are taking some of that, even if maybe that's not the case, that your background wasn't like that, but for some reason you feel like it's too much. Like I can't charge somebody that. You're got to unpack why you feel that way. Because what you're doing is you're assuming. And you know what they say about assuming? You make an ass out of you and me. Look at the word. Ass, you, me, right? You are assuming what people can afford, what people are willing to spend, what people are willing to make work. You're assuming all those things instead of simply letting them decide. And when you do that, you not only do you leave money on the table, but you actually repel some of your best customers. Some of the customers who would not only pay you once, but will continue to be paying customers. Now, I have said this in the past, and I was trying to think about if I truly believe this still, and I think I do. I have said you shouldn't charge something unless you've paid it. Now I'm going to go through it. I don't think that any rule there's always an exception to every rule, basically, right? But I feel like one way for you to break through your money challenge, your money block when it comes to charging somebody something, is for you to spend an amount of money on something else for yourself that is in the same lane, in vein. What I mean by that is, let's say that you have never charged somebody $1,000 for anything, for any of your services, your offers, anything. I think that to unlock that, if you paid someone else $1,000 and saw from the moment you got to that landing page or the video or the whatever the introduction to them was, studied it, wrote down things, watched how seamless or not it is to pay them. Pay them. Watch how they onboard you, if at all. Is there a system? Do you get instructions when you come in? Do they reach out to you, or do you go through a path, or what happens? How easy is it to reach customer service? How long is the thing? Is it like a one-time thing where you get a course? Is it like you're going through some calls with them or going through a process with them? Is it a membership? Is it a physical item? Is it a subscription continuity or not, right? Once you do that, I think that helps, in addition to some other exercises, I think that helps you break a barrier of, I've paid this. I've paid this amount to invest in myself. And I know what transformation or what good it did for me. And in fact, not offering this to someone else is is a bad thing. It is depriving them of the opportunity to get what I just received. Not the same thing necessarily, right? You're not necessarily selling the same thing, but the transformation. There's always a transformation to be had. So you are not your customer. Stop projecting your wallet and your bank balance onto your customer. Don't assume that anybody can afford anything. And I have done this before, even in the last 5 years. Oh my gosh, I've done this and it was just a bad idea. And I've always pulled myself away and back and like, wait a second. Wait a second. My idea of what someone can afford is very, very different than reality. And I need to remind myself of that. Because let me tell you what people do. People prioritize what they want to do. That is one thing I have learned in these last few years is that people will do what they want to do. Let me know in the comments if you agree. You think of yourself first and then we'll talk about other people. Yourself. Let's say you make 4,000 a month, 5,000 a month. Let's say you have a child or two. You have a partner maybe. And it's a one or two salary household. You're about 2 months ahead because you're better off than a lot of people, right? But you're about 2 months ahead. You know how to save a little bit and you don't squander your money. But then Beyonce goes on tour. And Beyonce tickets, the ones you want, you and another person, yours is going to cost $500. And then, of course, you got to have to get the outfit because you got to be ready for Beyonce. You got to get the transportation. Perhaps there is a babysitter involved. Gas ain't getting any cheaper. Maybe we're going to have dinner prior, or maybe we're going to spend money on food at the show. And we have to certainly get the $140 tour hoodie. What are we doing with our lives if we don't? And let me go ahead and get a little plush toy or a little da 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 for my friend or for my child who couldn't be here because I ain't paying $500 for them. Point of the story is, at the end of the day, you're $800 to $1,200 out of pocket for 3 hours of an ascension, a transformational journey in itself. You figure it out. What did you do? Did you get your credit card out? Did you look for the affirm button on Ticketmaster? Because you know we be hitting those affirm pay laters. Did you borrow? Did you pull from savings? Did you not do something else? Did you say, we're not going to do the cruise because we're going to Beyonce? What did you do to make it happen? Because you did make it happen. That's one thing you did. What if Beyonce had said, they can't afford this? My peasants cannot afford such an amount. She wouldn't be on tour. Because you know how much it costs to fly through the air and dangle in the air? Have hundreds of people running your tour? It's an expensive thing. I used to be a tour manager and a tour production coordinator. That's a whole nother life I had. It's very expensive. Now she gets paid a lot of money. And she probably could charge a little less, but she doesn't want to. And therefore she has not. Because this is not just a concert. This is an experience. This is a life-changing moment for you. And that is what she has said to herself. So you make it happen and you make it work when you want it to work and when you need it to work. So if you can create something that is transformational, something that fixes something that takes away pain for someone else, a pain point. You take them out of discomfort. If you can do that, you can charge what it's worth. And you'll never be able to charge what it's truly worth if we're being honest. Because how do you put a price on changing someone's entire mindset and setting them on a path for decades to come and potentially? Well, yes, with one course, yes, with one conversation. You never know what your one conversation might bear. I've had many conversations come back to me where people have said to me, and it happened actually in the last week, it happened twice. And I'm not exaggerating, where people came back to me and said, a conversation we had a couple of years ago changed everything for me. And so you'll never know how much. So you cannot put a price on that, but you shall try, right? You will try and you put that price on it and you say, there are almost 8 billion people or so in the world. There are going to be some people who need this and want this. Maybe they don't even need it, but they want it. If I want something, I'm going to get it. And your customers will too. And that may mean instead of charging $1, you're charging 20. Or it may be instead of charging 20, you're charging 200. Or it may mean you're instead of charging 200, you're charging 2,000. But it means to charge what it's worth without apology. And it means to don't do it under your breath. Don't say, oh, they can't afford it, so I can't do that. Don't prejudge what someone else is willing to do to get out of their own misery or to get out of their own pain. You're assuming that your limit is their limit. Because you might be in a situation where you can't afford, $100 or $300 or $1,000. You can't afford it. So you say, that's a tough economy. I don't know, the price of eggs. With everything going on in the world, I feel really guilty. Okay, so you do that and you have that little conversation with yourself, that little limiting, diminishing, limited, constrained, unconstructive or non-constructive conversation with yourself. And that same second, that same millisecond, I promise you, 100 other people are going ahead and charging. So that customer who could have gotten what you believe is the right remedy from you and potentially stayed with you for years through your offers, through your remedies, is now over there potentially not getting as good of a product. Because that confidence comes too with saying, I believe I can help you. I believe this is what you need because it has helped me or it has helped someone else. Now, there are a couple of things that you might be doing. And again, let me know in the comments if this is you. This is a safe space. You can say it. Have you ever discounted? This is going to do never have I ever, right? Have you ever discounted a price before someone even asked you to, before someone even said that they can't afford it? Because you got so scared or, a little bit nervous about it, saying the number out loud. Have you ever said, oh, I'm going to go ahead and discount it. It's $100, but it's $50. It's $50. Have you ever created a cheap offer in order to be liked by people? That, like, honestly, think about that for a minute. Have you ever done a cheap offer in order to be liked? Have you ever paid for something for a group of people or covered more than your fair share of a group effort in order to be liked in that moment? Have you ever had a higher cost offer that you hid Not strategically, like, I'm going to talk to people in conversation, but you hit it because you're so guilty about it existing. That one hits home. I've done all these, by the way. Every single one of them that I'm telling you, but I don't anymore because I need to build upon. I'm tired of getting the crumbs. I said this since day one when I kicked the door in Silicon Valley. I said I came for the cake, not the crumbs. I heard it in some rap lyrics in 10 years ago, and I still can't remember what song it was. If anybody knows, please tell me. But I came for the cake, not the crumbs. Think about it. It's like okay, I'm going to tell you a quick story, but I'll tell you, like, you saying, I don't think they can afford this $100. I'm not going to offer it. They probably have gone on to spend 10,000 somewhere else. So I was talking to someone and it was like a client who had spent money with me. Let's say they'd spent like 500 to $1,000 with me. And I was talking to them and I was helping them. It was like providing a lot of value in a one-on-one call. And I had an offer that was $5,000, my inner circle at the time. And my inner circle before had been 15K to $25,000 a year. And it was only 5,000. And that's a whole nother story. I'll tell you a whole other story about why I changed that price because it's relevant to this, but it's another type of strategy. So this is a heavily discounted $5,000, something that is worth much more already. Okay. And we were talking, and they were talking about how they were soon going to be leaving their corporate job. They were being phased out of their corporate job. And, they had maybe 2 months left. And when I saw that, all I saw was a servant leader. I need to, I don't want to be greedy. I have so much in life, not just money, right? I have so much because money is money is fleeting, and sometimes I have it and sometimes I don't, right? But I have so much. I have the ability, if I want to make money like that. So I didn't offer the 5K. And later in our conversation, she goes on to tell me that she's bought, ready for it? And if you're watching this, I'm not hating on you, but it was so funny to me. She bought a $10,000 television. I am crazy about televisions and I've never spent $10,000 on a TV. But she had. You know why? Because she wanted to, and she's an adult and it's her money. I put the limitation on her. So it was too late at that point because I'd already steered her away from my offer. I'd already made it not attractive to her. I'd already made it not attractive to her. So there was no coming back to, oh, go ahead and do it, right? It was like it wasn't available. I said it wasn't available. So now it's available? No, because I heard you say 10,000. I put that limitation on her because sometimes when you lose your job, it is very, very scary. And it is like, what am I going to do? And I have to figure something out. Stat. But sometimes when you lose a job where you've been there for quite a long time, you get what is known as a severance package. And that severance package can sometimes be worth tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you can still have some equity and you can still have, like, retirement and all kinds of stuff. Another time I was at an event, another Vegas event, but different time. And I was in a room full of professionals, C-suite kind of people, chief operating officer and chief financial officer, that kind of thing, C-suite. And even in that room, I assumed that people had like a fixed budget. a fixed, okay, they may make 150,000 or 200,000 a year, but that probably means that like everybody I know and everybody that I was brought up around, that they live at the top of their means, right? So there's like savings that doesn't exist, and like discretionary money, what is that, right? I had somebody come up to me afterwards, after I spoke, and they said, and this was more recent than the 5 years, by the way, but they said, I get $100,000 bonus every year. What? Because I've never been in corporate, so I don't know these things. I get $100,000 bonus every year, and I don't know what to do with it. And everybody in that room probably gets something like that. But I had put the limitations on, I'm not going to try to pitch these hardworking people. But this person, she was not only saying, I have the money that's extra, but I want to put it to work. I want to invest it in some way. And I don't mean necessarily investing in companies and stocks and all of that, which is like my other life, right? Like what I mean is investing, like this person would have made an incredible candidate for inner circle. And not $5,000 inner circle, $25,000 inner circle, $50,000 inner circle. Because I know for a fact that I could have made her $100,000 bonus and her maybe 250,000 a year, 300,000 a year salary. I could definitely help her get to $1 million a year in various ways. Help her with a book, help her with positioning, all kinds of content, da 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 da, putting together offers, having very, very light lift on her part, but taking her and doubling or tripling what she makes at her gig. Because I've done that. Like I know what it's like to have an audience. I know what it's like to go out and charge 25K to 50K to speak. That would have been, I could have taught her that in my sleep. I know what it's like to put out books. I've done that both independently and mostly through major publishers. So I know how to put together a book concept, get that sold, or take the indie route, and then have 10, 20, 30,000 books sold. I know how to do that. That is worth way more than $25,000 that I could have charged. But in that moment, those two moments that I just described to you, I was acting like I was allergic to money. And another thing you can do is you can start to target, and I mean in a good way, start to like think about what are some jobs and companies and types of customers who are consistently spending this type of money and more like it's nothing. Like rich people don't flinch when they spend money on the thing that they want to spend it on the thing that they have found brings them more of something. It could bring them more money. It could bring them more opportunities, access. It could relieve pain. It could save. If they have had that experience in the past, they do it like what? And there's a brand loyalty thing that happens with wealthy people. I mean, I've been around hundreds of them in the last 10 years. I've worked with hundreds of them. I've interviewed hundreds of them. I've been around them. I text with them all the time. I have conversations that are closed door conversations constantly. I know what people are willing to spend. And there are not just a few thousand of these rich people or people who have this ability. There are millions of them. The ones that I'm talking about in this particular part is the ones who can just spend money. And there are some tactical ways that I can help you. We're going to change this right now for us. If you're still here, I know I don't even have to ask if it's resonating because you're still here. But what I want you to do, if you are not in your first 5K, you're not in Arlen's All Access yet, I want you to go to Arlen's Your First 5K. Before I tell you these tactics, I want you to go there and I want you to sign up because I decided to give a a bunch of free stuff away for you just for signing up to a free trial. So we're talking about like value, like overload. This is it. So if you go to Arlen's Your First 5K, I'm going to tell you some tactical ways to make some money real quick. But let me show you this really quickly. What you get is all of this. And you don't even have, like, if you fall in love with Your First 5K, which I believe you will, because 2,000 people have in just 4 months. And we like added 500 new members in the last 2 weeks. It's been insane. But if you fall in love with it, you just pay $50 a year. And yes, you will be upsold. There's other things that you can get that are other offers that are even more valuable. That's the whole point of it. But you get all this stuff. But if you don't, you still get all this stuff. From the moment you join, you'll have access to this. So look, you get a prompt shop credit for $20. You get my latest book, the Revenue Playbook, eBook and Audiobook, which is awesome. You get a full course, like a memberships course, how I run the school games, and it's like exactly how do you set up your school and how do you start, how do you nurture, how do you make money from school. You get all the notes from my school games attendance that I was a special guest of the school's founder a few months ago, and I took all these crazy notes, and it's awesome. I think it's like 16 pages, and it's just ridiculous. You get a custom GPT that I made from, I took Hormozy's $100 million money models and I turned it into a custom GPT so that you could just talk to it about your own company or offer and it'll tell you what he would have said and what I would have said and we combine it together. It's so crazy. And then you get a replay of Your First Million Live 2024, which is like 4K beautifully shot. You get the exact script that earned me $17,000 in 72 hours just a couple of, like maybe 4 weekends ago. And you get my money models, which is my complete blueprint of that Hormozy new book. And you get all that for free just for signing up for a free 7-day trial. So go to that. Let's see. I'll show you really quickly too. Do I want to show you that? Yeah. This is the page. So you go to Arlen's yourfirst5k.com or you can go to this page. All right. So tactically, how do we get you out of this? How do we get ourselves out of this mindset? Couple of things you can do. One thing you can do is you can start with your best offer, your highest offer. This is also called price anchoring because it's like it works two ways. So one way it works is like, let's say you have something that costs $1,000, something that costs $300, and something that costs $97. Let's just say that for instance. And let's say that you currently you push the $97 thing a lot. And that's good actually, because you can have an ascension kind of profile. Like with what I just showed you, Your First 5K, people going to Your First 5K, I help them make $5,000. And then if they make $5,000, they want to go to the next thing because then that'll help you make more, right? So that is not a bad thing to have like, okay, it's $97 and I'll teach you about the 300, then I'll teach you about the 1,000. But another thing you could do, especially if you're trying to make more money faster, is you could start with the $1,000 thing. You can like push that out, make that offer, that thing that you've been a little afraid of even admitting you have, and you start there. And again, you say, nobody's going to pay for that. Don't worry about that part because we just talked about why that's silly. You just put that out into the world. And as you talk to people and have these conversations, sales conversations, introductory conversations, or people reach out or, you do a webinar or whatever it ends up being, when they tell you, I can't afford that, then you can downsell them to, okay, do you want to do it in monthly payments? Or here's a payment plan. Or do you want this $300 thing that I think can get you very far? And you'll, at this point, you'll be able to get the $1,000 thing in no time. But instead of saying, I'm only going to ask certain people that I think can afford it for the thousand. You might ask 10 people if they want the $1,000 thing without even like explaining yourself. Just say, this is really valuable. I know it can help you. And if one person says yes to that, you got $1,000 instead of having to get 10 people to do the $97 thing. Does that make sense? Because you're going to have these different tiers, you're going to have these different things for people, but you're not going to assume who can pay for what. You're just going to have a couple of different, two or three different things for people to meet them where they are, but you're going to let them tell you where they are. Another thing you can do, and I work on this all the time, is you publicly tell people how valuable your stuff is by showing them results from people. I talk to people in my inner circle, in my higher price things all the time who have accomplished enormous things. Even working at a company for 20 years is an enormous accomplishment. But they've accomplished these incredible things, but they don't brag about it. They don't talk about it. They think it's not a cool thing to do. It's not okay. If you want different circumstances, if you don't have the bank account that you want to have, that balance is not where you want it to be. You got to switch things up. So, what would happen if you started bragging about it? If you started showing people not only testimonials, but case studies and like, you don't even have to like blast them if they don't want to be blasted. You can just do it anonymously. You can say, I have a client who's 35 and they were working at this, da 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 da, and I helped them do X, Y, Z. Or I revamped their entire website and helped them with this. Or I did their bio for their Instagram and did this. And it helped them go from this point to this point without even having to say it out loud. You're showing that there's an incredible value. And then you say, and it costs just $300 or it costs just $1,000 to do it. You don't have to be bottom of the barrel. I'm the bargain basement price. I'm so cheap. It's so affordable, right? Like right now, I'm gonna prove my point to you. I just told you about something that is free. You get all this free stuff, and it's a free 7-day trial and free. 90% of the people watching this are gonna go and do that because that is a really good deal. But I'm gonna talk to the people who are in the 10% who want more and need more and could afford more. Just because you can afford it doesn't mean you won't get it, right? So like the 90% too, like, come on, this is what we're talking about. I have 5 more spots in my inner circle as of August 2025. We have 100-person lifetime cap. We helped, when I say we, I have an incredible coach with me, Colin Yearwood. We work together with our group. We helped Liz go from 17,000 a month, which is incredible, good for her, to 40,000 a month in 8 months. We've helped multiple people do different wildly successful things. We've helped people through some really tough times. They've met each other. They worked with each other. They collaborate all the time. It's fantastic. And we have a 100-person lifetime cap. I wasn't even going to talk about this in this video, but absolutely, after talking about all this stuff and what I'm going to show you, I have to do this. I'm not going to limit myself and say, oh, only the people who do the free thing I should talk to. No, of course not. This is $5,000 per year. It's normally $25,000 per year. I don't need to sell that. If you are interested in that, you can email me at arlanhamilton@gmail.com. Just look up how to spell my name. It's my name without any kind of spaces or dots or anything at Gmail. Just send me a message on Gmail and say, I'm interested in joining your inner circle. I know that it's $5,000. Please send me the payment link. And then you'll get one of those 100 spots that are left, only the 5 that are left. Okay. You also want to spend time nurturing your customers and your audience. One thing I love about the work that I do is that there truly is an ascension. So what I mean by that is, as long as I have a payoff, as long as I do the thing that I'm telling you I can do, which is help you make more money, then you have more money to spend with me. So I'm highly incentivized to help you at every stage instead of just saying, I want and I want you to give. If I give first the value, it helps you make more money and therefore you have it to spend on me. So that nurturing is really, really interesting. So think through your offer stack and think through your entire ecosystem of what you do and decide, is there a way? And it doesn't have to be like you help people make money because a lot of people are doing hobbies or doing arts, crafts, technical skills, etc. But is there a way that what you do helps that person save or make enough money or time or energy that they want to spend some of that saved money, time, energy on you? So when you join your first 5K, I teach you how to make $5,000. And hundreds of the 2,000 have made money, some amount of money, $100, $1,000. Some people have even made 5,000 already. And it hasn't even been a year yet. They just made it. So those people, they join Arlen's All Access, or they join my mastermind, or they join, or they get a course from me. And in that course, or Arlen's All Access, or the mastermind, I teach them how to make more money. And then they're like, oh, I made even more money. And they tell me this on videos and stuff. It's not like I'm guessing, like they tell me. And then they make more money and then they spend more. So it's like all hyper aligned incentives. So that's one thing I would encourage you to do. It's like get really good at something. Get really good at one thing that helps people save money, time, energy, or make money, time, energy, like gain it. Now, if you want it, you can just look at the different things that I offer and you can see like the different process. Like if you're in your first 5K, a lot of people who are in your first 5K, there's 2,000 of you, and Arlen's All Access are 400 plus of you. You watch my videos too, because you're like, I'm not going to just get what's in this thing that I'm paying for. I'm going to get all the sauce because I know, I'm giving away this stuff every day almost. And you have access to 500 plus videos on YouTube. So I encourage you to go to the next one if you want. If you made it this far, we're going to do a code word. Code word is going to be school, SKOOL, because it's right in front of me. School, SKOOL. If you've made it this far, this is how you let me know that you've watched this far. No matter when you're watching this, I will always see it because I check all of my comments. 12 years ago, 15 years ago, I can't remember, maybe 15 years ago, when I was still a drunk. I've been sober for 8 years now. Very proud of that. I was asked to speak at Colorado Spring Pride, which is like a gay pride parade and festival in Colorado Springs. I was not only asked to speak there, I was asked to host it, host the entire thing. And I was asked that because I had a lot of an audience, I had a lesbians, Your Daily Lesbian Moment blog that had 50,000 readers every month. And I was very flamboyant on video. So people thought, oh, she'd make a great host. This is going to be awesome. They didn't know I had ridiculous stage fright, like debilitating, horrible stage fright. And I said yes to it because I was like, I'm going to say yes to this. This is such a cool opportunity. This is when I was living in Columbus, by the way, when I had the guy urinating. So that would have been 15 years ago, 14 or 15. And I said yes to it because I'm like, all I have to do is just get drunk and I'll be able to do it. It's going to be fine. Well, I get there. They even fly people in for it. Like my friends, they flew them in, several of them. I think like 4 different friends for the whole weekend. We go to the party that's before it, and I'm supposed to host this entire thing. And they put a mic in my hand at the club, and I'm supposed to say something like rousing to kick off the weekend. And I didn't know they were going to do that. And I was like, I wasn't drunk and I wasn't prepared. I couldn't say anything. I was like, no. And I pushed the mic away. And I think that that's when they started realizing, oh no, maybe we've made a mistake. There was no rehearsal. To my credit, there's no rehearsal or anything like that. They just thought I was going to be able to like wing it on the day of too. So I got really, 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 really drunk that night so I could be more social and cool. I had the worst hangover ever the next day. It was really sickening and disgusting. And the following day, I was supposed to go and do the actual hosting of this part of it. I hid behind a tree when they called my name. I stayed behind the tree and still hung over from the day before, incredibly embarrassed, guilt-ridden. Um, I told them I couldn't do it, but they said give it a try, and then I couldn't do it, so I hid behind a tree. And they called me, and it was like, if you ever seen Sound of Music, have you ever seen the movie Sound of Music? And it's a spoiler alert from a 50-year-old film, but they say at the end, the Von Trapp family, the family Von Trapp, and they're calling them off stage, but they have already left the building. It's a great film. Go watch it. And that was me because it was like silence. They were like, Arlan Hamilton. And there's like, Arlan wasn't anywhere to be found. I wasn't mic'd. I wasn't anywhere in the vicinity of a backstage. I was hiding behind a tree several yards away with people behind me who could see me from the tree. Oh, like 2 years ago, I spoke in front of 20,000 people. And I could have stayed on that stage all day long. I could have stayed on that stage all day long. I spoke in front of 20,000 people. And it just goes to show you that anything is possible. Your current circumstances do not define you. 15 years ago, I had the urinating clown above me. And I used to walk the streets of Hollywood because I didn't have a place to stay. So I never slept on concrete. That's one thing I never did. But I'd stay at like a trap house. I stayed at different, it was crazy. Um, and I would walk the streets because what I would do is on the days where I had absolutely nowhere to go, like no place to sleep, I would stay up at night and walk around Hollywood so that when I fell asleep, like on a bench or against a wall, it would be during the day. So I'd be safer. That was my logical reasoning. So I would walk up and down Sunset over and over and over again. Up Sunset. I would go into a coffee shop or a donut shop and I would find like, I would put together $1. So I'd buy a donut or I'd buy a little espresso or whatever I could get so I could have a reason for being there for 8 hours or whatever. And uh, today I live in a high rise that overlooks that exact street and overlooks the exact part of the street that I spent the most time around. And every single day of my life, I look at it and I remember and I think about it, at least for a moment. There's not a day that goes by if I'm at home that I don't look at it. It goes to show you things can change and they can reverse as well. So I never forget that. I never take it for granted. Obviously, I just told you I think about it, reflect on it every day almost. But your circumstances today are not always your circumstances. So if you are in a position where you're like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 is a lot of money for me right now. And I don't like that. I don't like being in a position where I don't have money stacked. I should be doing better than this. I think you probably need a high ticket offer. I think you need a mid to high ticket offer. And I think you need to make that offer with abandon, like a dancing dervish. There's many movies going through my head right now. Meet Joe Black is one of them right now. I think you need to make an offer to somebody or to several people or just put it out in the world. There's a video I made a couple of days ago, maybe 3 days ago, where I teach you how to spin up a landing page with Lovable, ChatGPT and Lovable. It's 45 minutes or so, teaches you how to spin this up. Watch the video, spin up a landing page, get you a PayPal account or Stripe. You already have one if I'm talking to you for sure. Link it to one of those Say this thing costs $2,000 and I'm going to deliver $20,000 worth of value, and then do that. And then put it out in the world. And don't care what anybody says or anybody thinks. And you might say, well, okay, that's a little contradictory if I've never paid $2,000 for something. Okay, I truly believe that you should. You should. So think about what you have paid. What have you paid? How much did the Beyonce situation cost you? Because I know you were there. How much did that cost you? Use that as an example. You know, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I paid for coaching and therefore I can charge for this for coaching. What have you paid for? What trip have you gone on? What car have you purchased? What house mortgage do you have? Come on, you could do it. Think through it. That is what I'm talking about. If you have invested in yourself or someone else, you might have put somebody through college. That's what you can charge somebody else. So you can, dip a toe, charge somebody 2,000, 1,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000. You don't have to play small ball the whole time. You don't have to wait months and months and months and months to nurture somebody. Because I tell you what, there are a group of people, millions of them, but for your lane, maybe a few dozen, who do not want to go through a 6 month, let's do calls every 2 weeks for 45 minutes. They don't want that work. They do not want to take a course because they won't watch it. They don't have time for it. They do not want to go into even a membership if it means that they have to do something every day or every week. There are some people you are reaching right now, you don't even realize, who if you said to them, in a day, I can get you out of pain, they would say, where is the payment link? That's why I have VIP days and I have Inner Circle. Because I have people who will spend the same amount of money on a year with me as they would, they would spend the same amount of money on a day with me as they would on a year with me. And sometimes more. Like I think right now my VIP day is 10,000, which is very low. I could charge a lot more for that. I think it's 10,000 and my Inner Circle is 5,000. So I need to take my own advice, but I have locked in the 100 people at that lifetime for our purposes. It helps me to have this group of elite entrepreneurs around me. So that's why I charge that. That's the spoiler alert. But my VIP day is 10,000 and still discounted. I've paid 10,000. I paid 25,000 for a VIP day for somebody else. There are people like I have friends and I went through the list. There's like 3 friends that I asked what their cost was for their VIP day because I wanted to do them. One of them is 25,000. Oh no, well, that was 4 friends. So one of them is 10,000, which I've already done. So I'm going on the little stair step. One is 10,000. I've already done that one. The next person was 25,000. The next person was 50,000, and the next person was 100,000. And if you look at what they have accomplished, and I looked at what they accomplished, every single one of those is worth it, well worth it, because if they can impart on me any wisdom and any tactics and anything in that one day that sends me anywhere close to where they are or what they've accomplished, a fraction of it, then I would make multiples on what I spent. And the more they spend, the more they have other people involved. Like the one that does $100,000 for the one day, she has some of her team members come in and plug in, either with me or my team members. But the one that does 25 a day or 10K a day, it's just us talking for a few hours. But it's like, here, I'm going to just give you everything. And a lot of it I can find elsewhere, but there's just going to be that one sentence or that one, this is the hookup. This is who I use for this. This person saved me 50,000 on taxes last year. So that's the thing. Or, when I did this launch and I did 250,000, the reason I was able to do it was that is the reason you pay that. So that is why somebody would pay you. So if you are one of my friends here who I know is going through it right now, I hope that you made it this far because I need you to know this. I need you to know you probably need to just put it out there into the world. This costs $5,000. Only a few people can have it. It gives this transformation in this amount of time, and it's ready. And this is where you pay for it. I wouldn't even have all kinds of phone conversations about it, because a lot of times it is a good idea to jump on a Zoom and really go through it. And if your bank account's not looking the way you need it to right now, you got stuff to do. I would just say, look, this costs $2,000 and there's 24 of them. Go, run before it's out, and we'll get to work. And don't sell to people. Don't force people to buy. Don't guilt people into buying. Because here's the bottom line. To answer the premise of this video, the thumbnail that you saw, you are not allergic to money. You're just avoiding it. You say you want more money, but everything you're doing right now is a detour to money. You need to be the on-ramp to money. You need to create an on-ramp where money feeds into you rather than being the deflecting of it, repelling it. So I need you to stop apologizing for your price. Stop dumbing down your offer and making it feel less than it is. This is for you too. Stop pre-rejecting yourself on behalf of your potential customer. If you have current customers, anybody who has purchased from you before, come up with an offer that would help them today and send it out to them privately and say, I know we've worked together in the past, or I know you've accomplished this, or we've done this together. I have this new offer. I want to just make sure you know about it. No pressure. This is the offer. Don't assume that if you send it out to 20 people that they're all going to say no. What if 2 say yes? What if 5 say yes? Instill in yourself, this is helping them, this is for their benefit, and I'm going to make the offer. And if they say no, it's all good. Still respect them, still going to work with them, all good. Let's go. You need to become someone who welcomes wealth rather than someone who rejects it or fears it. And then your bank account will change.